It's another time when we bring personalities to talk on issues that have made news headlines. My name is Godwin Oka, your host. You can listen to this program if you go through our website of www.von.gov.ng. Other platform where you could reach us could go through TuneIn Radio, Simple Radio, and Radio Garden, all through the apps. Well, I have a special guest you will love to meet, but in a moment, we bring you who she is. I have with me the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Dr. Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed. Ma, welcome to Voice of Nigeria.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Dr. Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed was born on June 16, 1960 in Kaduna State. She holds a BSc Accounting from Ahmadu Bello University at ABU Zaria in 1981 and also obtained an MBA from Ogun State University, Agoiwe, Ogun State in August 2004. She has held several positions of leadership both at the state, federal, international levels, some of which include the Kaduna State Minister of Finance in 1982, the Nigerian Telecommunication Limited, NITEL, in March 1985 to 2002, Nigeria Mobile Telecommunication, MTEL, November 2005. Before her current appointment as the Minister of Budget, Finance, National Planning, she was the Executive Secretary and National Coordinator of the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NETI, for 5 years. On September 14, 2018, President Muhammadu Buhari appointed her as the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning. That's a quick brief about my guest, special one at that. Ma, welcome again to Voice of Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I want us to just take a quick assessment of, the performance of President Muhammadu Buhari, especially in the finance or economy within this last 4 years of his administration, because you have been at the helm of affairs of that ministry.
Well, if you permit me, I'd like to start from the beginning of the president's administration. If you recall, in 2015, when the president came to power, a few months after we went into our first recession. At that time, there was a crash in the crude oil price. And we took a number of measures, including reflating the economy, designed a plan that helped us to exit recession in 4 years. Even when the crude oil price recovered, it never recovered to the level prior to 2015. We had crude oil prices that were as low as $14 per barrel at some point, but that year the average was nothing near $20 per barrel. So we came at a very difficult time. There were physical constraints and there was no revenue. And so we had to make sure that Mr. President's commitment to the Nigerian citizens are met within a very tight circumstance. And it means prioritizing the priorities. Mr. President had committed to govern Nigeria under 3 promises that he made while he was being elected the first time. He said he was going to grow the economy, provide security and welfare of the citizens, and fight corruption.
Sure.
And in the area of security and welfare of the citizens, a lot has been achieved in terms of the stability that we have seen in the Northeast. At the time we took over, Northeastern Nigeria had a lot of its local governments under the hands of let me call them insurgents at that time. But right now we have all of Nigerian territory is in the hands of the Nigerian government, and stability came back to the Northeastern region. In terms of the economy, what the president has done is he asked us to develop a plan on how to manage the economy. We developed the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, the ERGP. The ERGP was centered around 9 priority areas and 5 execution priorities. So we moved the economy from a recession to 12 months of consecutive GDP growth. So the economy was growing since we exited a recession in 2016 consecutively for 12 months until COVID-19 happened, which is in the second tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari. COVID-19 set us back. Again, COVID-19 saw us going into another recession. but that recession was short-lived because we did a massive reflation of the economy. We didn't want a recession that will linger because the impact of that recession was much larger. So again, in the case of Nigeria, crude oil has crashed, but there was standstill in global trade, and there were so many consequences to so many economies of the world, not just the Nigerian economy. So allowing the country to stay for too long into recession was not an option we were going to consider. So we developed again the economic sustainability plan. It was meant to stabilize the economy from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was centered around developing a large number of jobs so that jobs can be, our people will stay employed. Small businesses continue to stay in businesses, retain the people that they're having, and also supporting businesses with small loans through the MSME Survival Fund. So we gave loans, we gave payroll support, and there was public works, which put people to even physically work on roads. So road projects continued during the COVID-19 pandemic. So that recession was also very, very short-lived. It was just 1 month, one quarter, and we exited recession. Since then, this economy has been growing. We have reported now from Q4 of 2020, when we exited recession, every subsequent quarter we have been recording growth. So we have about 8 quarters of positive growth now. And our target is by the end of 2023 that we will close 2023 with a growth rate of 4.2% GDP growth. But it's not just about GDP growth. We also, despite very difficult operating circumstances, grew revenue. In 2015, what we inherited was a budget size of 5 trillion. Since then, we've been able to steadily grow our budgets to 21.8 trillion of 2023, from 5 trillion to 21 trillion. And then also, how we funded the budget also has changed significantly. We had our budgets from 2015 being funded 70% by all revenues. So we've been able to turn that trajectory around. Now our budgets are funded almost 70% by non-oil revenue. So that for us is a digital revolution. It is a non-oil revolution. It's a revolution that has taken us away from the depending on the oil sector, because every time the oil sector sneezes globally, the Nigerian economy suffers. Our government's budget is funded largely now by non-oil revenue sources, which is more sustainable and also which we have more control of because it's not depending on several external factors, unlike oil revenue. And also we have put in place several fundamental building blocks that assures us that the non-oil revenue will continue to grow on an incremental basis year on year.
Okay. It takes me exactly because you're talking of, because you mentioned the ARGP and the ESP. Now, in specific terms, let's look at, especially you're talking of non-oil revenue generating areas that are making impact. Specifically, in which area are we beginning to see those new developments?
Okay, starting first of all with the big picture, 2021 revenue, we recorded a 6 trillion revenue at the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and that was the first ever in the country. 6 trillion has now grown to 10 trillion in 2022. So that is the kind of incremental growth that we're talking about. And this will enable us to meet our target of revenue to GDP of 15%. We're currently at about 8%. Our target is to be able to push that to 15%, and at this trajectory, we'll be able to do that by 2025.
Okay. Let's still hold on in the area of this non-oil revenue generating ventures. How do we sustain it from all your plans? Now this government is gradually winding down now. What are your plans to ensure that the next government will build on what you have to continue to grow in the economy?
So growing revenue means increasing your physical revenue, but it also means reducing your leakages where revenues are leaking.
Are we working towards
we have had to do both.
Okay.
And that's why I said we have put in place measures that will ensure that the revenue growth is sustained. When I was appointed as Minister of Finance in late 2018, I had a meeting in the ministry and we all agreed collectively that the biggest challenge we need to focus on was revenue. We stepped back, and that was in October. We stepped back and we said, how do we do this in a manner that is systematic and focused? We got some support from Deloitte. We developed a strategy that we call the Strategic Revenue Growth Initiative. It was designed around 3 thematic areas: to increase revenue and enhance compliance, to introduce new revenue streams, and also to enhance the cohesion between our people and our tools. This SRGI was designed centered around several portfolio agencies like FRS, Nigerian Customs Service, NNPC, Ministry of Finance itself. And each of the portfolio agencies had specific initiatives with clear targets that they're meant to achieve over the period of the SRGI. So we made commitments through the SRGI that we were going to reverse the budget cycle from January to a predictable January to December. And we did that by the second year of the SRGI. We also indicated that we were going to turn around the revenue of the country from non-oil, from 70% oil revenue, 70-30 to the other way, 70-30. And we've been able to achieve that. We also said we were going to introduce finance acts. The finance acts are very important piece of work that we have done. For about 20 years, we have not had our fiscal laws reviewed or adjusted in any meaningful manner. So this Finance Act, every year we sit back and say, what reforms do we need amongst all of our fiscal laws that are allowing for leakages or that are allowing for unfairness or unbalanced taxation or revenue collection. We identify what needs to be corrected, and we correct them through this finance bill, which is an omnibus bill that can amend any fiscal law in any particular year. Those finance bills help us to realize the full implementation of our budgets. So we have used the finance bills to block leakages, to strengthen the FRS and the Nigerian Customs Service. We have done automation of the two institutions through that process, so tax compliance has increased as a result. We have also been able to adjust our VAT rate from 5% to 7.5%, even though our target was to 10%, but you know how it is in Nigeria. Yeah. We're targeting 10% by the second year, but we did 7%.
Because you need to consider
so that was to increase revenue. Yeah. Okay. VAT was one of the ways to increase revenue. And we still have to increase our VAT because at 7.5%, Nigeria is the lowest VAT rate in the world, not in Africa, in the world. In sub-Saharan Africa, the Africa average is 18%.
Could that be, comparable to the GDP too? Because if you look at the GDP...
No, it's not necessarily comparable to the GDP. When you increase your VAT, your GDP will grow.
Okay.
It will further grow because it will generate more revenue and therefore more economic activities. But that is something that the next administration has to look at, to incrementally adjust and increase our VAT rate because it's too low at the level and which it is. I'm just saying that under the Strategic Revenue Growth Initiatives, we defined several initiatives and have been systematically ticking off and achieving these initiatives. And all of those are things that are sustainable, they are fundamental, and they're improvements that have come to stay. We have reviewed our fiscal incentives, some of the incentives that we give to businesses and refined them to be able to get more value. There's still a lot of more work to be done because that's an area where we're having a lot of, what will I say? If I say leakage, it doesn't mean leakage in a negative way, but it is revenue foregone.
Okay.
When you give somebody a tax waiver or import duty waiver, that's revenue you're foregoing. So we're systematically also reviewing that, pulling back on some of those incentives that have become dated. There are some incentives like for new starters that have been in place from 1956 for industries that at that time were supposed to be infant industries. All of those industries are now matured. So we're working with our colleagues from the trade sector, with the business community, to reclassify what is an infant industry, to remove the industries that are matured, so that if we give the incentives, it will be to newer industries that we need to nurture to grow.
The Honourable Minister is with us. If you have any question, you can drop it, and she will answer. And then, if there is anything you want us to know, we will make sure that it gets to her. So, welcome on board on Voice of Nigeria in the News. Once again, my guest is the Honourable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Dr. Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed. Once again, ma, welcome to Voice of Nigeria.
Thank you. Leakages, some of them are actually leakages provided that are resulting from gaps that you have in your laws. So if you are able to firm up your laws, you block some of those leakages. But there are some that are intentional, that are undertaken by people. And we have found that one of the best ways to address such leakages is by deploying automation. Because with automation, especially in financial management, you're able to trace any activity that is undertaken and trace it to the person who undertook that activity. So automating government financial transactions through the deployment of the government integrated financial management system, automating the government payroll, the IPPIS, has helped us also to cut down on leakages from that angle. The FRS and customs automation have also helped the two organizations to be more efficient, and also supported taxpayers in finding compliance easier, because right now you can actually file your taxes virtually and get your tax clearance certificate virtually. In the past, it was a Herculean task. You have to go and meet people and all kinds of back and forth that ensues, that allow for people to be extorted. The Nigerian Customs Service has also deployed automation in the assessments that they make, and also the collections that they make. Also, we're able to see the collections virtually. But there's a major project that has been approved by His Excellency as well as the Federal Executive Council that we call the e-Customs project, that has suffered some delay in terms of implementation because there were some disputes between the consortium. So it was supposed to be private sector driven, but the disputes have been largely addressed, so that progress that project can progress now. The e-Customs is supposed to automate the full circle of the Nigerian customs processes, and as well as the full circle of all of trade facilitation process. So as an importer, you don't have to go and submit documents at different agencies of government. You log on to a website and deposit all of your, let's say, import documents, and each of the agencies that are within the trade facilitation circle, whether it is NDLE or SON or Customs or NPA, can access those documents, make their assessment, do their work, and then you're able to progress more timelessly. So automation is very key to blocking leakages. It is also key to tracing what has happened that is wrong, and also to apprehending culprits that have done something wrong within the system.
Honourable Minister, like I said, we're live on Facebook, and someone is asking, Ben Shaman says, Honourable Minister, what is the economic policy thrust of the Buhari administration in which you are the Minister of Finance? I know you must have, you mentioned at the beginning,
So that's a very broad question. It's like I've already responded to this in all of what I have said. It is to grow the economy, but to grow the economy in a manner that is sustainable and inclusive, so that we're not leaving anyone behind. And our target is to reach a growth rate of 7% per annum, GDP growth rate of 7% per annum.
Now, most Nigerians are saying this government is more or less is sensitive to the plight of the poor, especially with this program of redesigned Naira, and then the issue of the plight that is leaving most Nigerians in hardship. What is government position as regards this policy? Because most Nigerians are really suffering. Going to their banks, the money they have put in, they can't get it back.
Well, I can tell you that the president is pained by the suffering of Nigerians. And the president has directed that everything that needs to be done should be done so that people's sufferings are solved within the shortest period of time. I don't think anybody realized that it was going to become this complex or this difficult for people. So certainly the design of the project was never intended to have people go through the kind of difficulties that they went through, and the president really is not happy with that situation. The fuel subsidy is one of those political economy decisions that you don't want to have, but you're stuck with it anyway. But we've come to the point when almost everybody has agreed that this is really not serving the people that it is supposed to service. And it's becoming, the cost of it has become so high that it is very much adding to our deficit. And right now, we have an approval within the Appropriation Act to exit subsidy by June 2023.
Okay.
Or at least I can say the Appropriation Act made provision to that only allows subsidy up to June 2023. So we have to find ways in which we have to remove this subsidy and allow the market to flourish. When you remove the subsidy, then you have marketers that would be able to invest and bring the fuel product and sell it at market prices. Right now, NNPC is the sole importer. It is importing and it is limited to an official price. So the subsidy per liter now ranges anything from 350, sometimes up to 400 per liter, the subsidy that government is carrying. Just imagine what you can do with $250 billion per 250 billion naira per month, because that's the average cost per month to the nation. That is even the cost to NNPC. There's an implicit subsidy of FX that we have not even calculated and included in this 250. There's so much you can do. You can build more hospitals, more schools, provide more social services, improve infrastructure that will enhance the quality of life of the people, instead of just using it on a consumption item. You put gas in your car and in a couple of days it's gone, and then you have to put again. So we do hope that this time around that the whole country will work with the government to get rid of this subsidy, to save us from continuously expending limited resources on a consumption item.
Now let's look at in this administration, I know efforts have been made in foreign direct investment attracting to the country within this period of 4 years. You want to lead us to some of specific areas that Nigeria has gained in this sector?
Well, I must say that Nigeria, like most countries of the world, have suffered economic strain because of COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Ukraine. So during the COVID-19 pandemic period, we saw investors leaving the country, especially portfolio investors that come to our capital market because the returns are very, very high. They bring the money, take the profit and go. So since they exited, we haven't seen a significant level of return. But our preference is actually to have real investors that will come and make business investments, as opposed to just coming to take advantage of good rates in our capital market. And these investments are gradually trickling in, and we forget that we have large investments being done by Nigerian companies. When you just ask yourself, who are the major investors in the country? Or who has made the most recent investors in the country? It's Nigerian investors, and they're doing good businesses. So that is a signal to external investors that, guys, this is a place where you can make good money, and you should come in. So this Nigerian investors partner with external parties and invest in Nigeria, and they're making good business.
Okay, I want to look at, you have, because you're a woman, and you must have a lot of young ones looking up to you. And what will be your advice to young girls, young ones there, looking up to you? What advice will you give the women folk?
Well, first of all, I should say family is important. Family is very, very important. You have to be a professional. You have to have the qualities and the qualification that qualifies you for a job, so that you're not given the job because you're a woman, but you're being given the job because you are qualified for it. And you have to work twice as hard as the next man just to have a fighting chance. But in all of that, never lose sight of your family, and don't take your family for granted, because when you have a peaceful home, then you're able to better be more productive in your official function. So to young ladies, and I have daughters, I have granddaughters, I'll say you can have it all. You don't have to have just a career at the expense of your family. You can have both your career and your family.
So after here, where next? Can we say you'll be able to, when the people ask you to be they want to lead a country like Nigeria, are you looking at that direction?
No, I'm not looking at the direction, because you're talking about politics. I'm not looking at the direction of politics. What am I doing after this? I know certainly I have grandmother duties waiting for me. I haven't had enough time for my grandchildren. I'm looking forward to that break.
I've been talking to a woman of substance. She's no other than Mrs. Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed, who was born on June 16, 1960 in Kaduna State. She holds a BSc Accounting from Muhammadu Buhari University, IBU Zaria, in 1981, and also obtained an MBA from Ogun State University, Agowe, Ogun State, in August 2004. She has held several both local and international positions before becoming the Minister of Finance, Budget, and National Planning. Ma, thank you once again for coming to Voice of Nigeria.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
And it's here we draw the curtains on this week's edition of In the News. But don't forget, you can still listen to this program if you go to our website of www.von.gov.ng. Or the platform where you could reach us, go through TuneIn Radio, Simple Radio, and Radio Garden, or through the apps. But you can still watch this edition if you go to Facebook and search for Von Newscast. You will be part of this program. And if you have anything, a message you could drop in there, we'll still get it to the minister. Well, production has been by Paul Oke. My name is Godwin Oka in Abuja.